Hi everyone, it's Rax bringing you the video you've all been waiting for, how to play LoN Thorns for the Necro in solo in Season 17. Now this build is one of the very best in the entire game, capable of clearing GR 135 plus, and it's also extremely fun to play. Now, if you have already watched my Thorns guide on the groups, I'm going to save you a little bit of time. There'll be a timestamp down below that you can skip past most of the gear section that we're going to cover in the beginning, and I'll just do a very quick summary on what you'd want to switch to play this build as a solo character. But after that, we'll go through the skills, the passives, and the gameplay, which will all be different from the group version. And then I will go over the Guardians one more time because I have learned some things specifically about how to kill the impossible bosses like Bone Warlock and Vesalius, so I'll show you how to succeed on them as well. Here we go. Okay, so starting off with Trag'Oul's Corroded Fang. Now, real quick, this is a Thorns build, which is a mechanic where when monsters hit us, or in this case hit our skeletons, they take massive damage. So we're going to do everything that we can to buff Thorns. Thorns cannot crit, so we want no crit hit chance and no crit hit damage. We just want survivability, and Thorns can be magnified by int, can be magnified by command skelly damage, can be magnified by damage against elites, along with physical percent damage. So that's what we'll be taking. And unlike in the group build, we don't take Bane of the Stricken in this, so attack speed is really not that much of a factor. So, Trag'Oul's Corroded Fang, we do 200% damage to cursed enemies. We're going to be cursing absolutely everything. So that's why we want this. Int does increase Thorns, so we'll take Int everywhere. Vite to survive, damage against elites, more damage, and cooldown reduction. We have two cooldowns that we use now. We use Land of the Dead and Golem, so cooldown is helpful. Bone Ringer. This makes the entire build. Int, damage against elites, cooldown, command skellies. You're going to see common theme there. We want secondary Thorns on absolutely every single piece except for Trag'Oul's, the weapon, and Andariel's, the helm, because this one can't roll Thorns. Otherwise, we want Thorns absolutely everywhere else, and this is no exception. The damage bonus of command skeletons increases by 30% per second they spend attacking the same target. It's going to be very important for the gameplay. So as long as that target is still alive and our command skeletons are still commanded on them, it goes up to 30, 60, 90, 120 every second. Not based on how much they attack, just every second. Illusory Boots lets you walk through enemies. This is mandatory because we don't have any mobility skills. Once again, we want all survivability stats and Thorns. Golem Skin Breaches. This is a new one for solo. We need this for survivability. The cooldown on our command golem is reduced by 25 seconds. That's also somewhat helpful. We'll get into that in a second. But you take 30% less damage. We absolutely cannot die in this build. If we die, our Bone Ringer stacks drop, and then it's probably a wipe. So we must stay alive at all costs. That's why we drop Swampland Waders for Golem Skin. Unity is a free 50% damage reduction. Again, we've got to stay alive, so this is another change from the group build. And we want int elite damage and cooldown with Thorns. Boyarsky's chip is the Thorns gem. That's why we take it. Gives us more damage. Convention of the Elements. This is a staple in like every DPSing build. Remember, physical does work. Gives us more damage, so we'll take COE here. Int percent life, you could also get Vitality, whichever one's better for you, cooldown, and Thorns. And we take Enforcer to make our Skellies do more damage with their Thorns. Dainty's Binding, all survivability there with Thorns. We get 50% damage reduction when enemies are cursed. Once again, we're cursing absolutely everything. Mandatory for staying alive. Now, the gloves and the shoulders are the exact same story as for the group build. These are best in slot. You could also take Death Watch Mantle to help you proc your Crispin Sentence a little bit. Some people take Devour, and then you could take, what are they called, the Morbid Gauntlets for your Golem shedding a corpse every second. But I like these two. I just like survivability. When you run into an elite pack, you gain an Absorb Shield. we're going to run into a lot of elite packs, and it will help on the Guardian as well. And Pauldrons of the Skeleton King gives you a cheat death. In my opinion, this is way more valuable than the Death Watch proc, Mantle proc of helping with Crispin's Sentence. We can do that with our Golem anyway. But if you can't find these exact items, as long as you get the right stats on these two pieces, that's fine. So feel free to interchange these. And again, we want all survivability with cooldown and Thorns, all survivability with cooldown and Thorns, and we also want command skellies on the shoulders. Andariel's best in slot. It gives us physical percent damage. Now, unlike in the group build, attack speed doesn't help us too much because we don't have Stricken, but oh well, we'll take it anyway. And then we want to roll for a socket for the cooldown because, again, we have Land of the Dead, and we also have our Golem. Aquila. Unfortunately, I have a Primal Ancient Heart of Iron that's absolutely perfect, which is you gain Thorns equal to 300% of your Vitality. I just don't think you can give up Aquila. You need the 50% damage reduction to stay alive, but if you want to be a crazy person, you could try to slot this in for a Heart of Iron. I will probably try to do that on my stream since I have a Primal Ancient perfect one. But other than that, I'd go for Aquila. Invite Command Skellies and Thorns. Wisdom of Kalan, it gives us more survivability with the 5 more bone armor stacks. Physical, int, Vite with Thorns. It's okay if you can't get one of these. If you can't get that perfect combination, you could go for cooldown. Now, you have 2 choices for this gem. You could use Bane of the Trapped, which is what I recommend, or you could use Zaystone. The reason why I think Bane of the Trapped is better is because you're usually attacking the monsters that are close to you versus monsters that are far away. So for that reason, I think Bane of the Trapped is a little bit better, and it helps proc your Crispin's Sentence. I guess you could make that argument for Zaystone as well for the Thorns, or for the stun, excuse me. But because you're usually killing monsters right by you, and it's not going to be perfect with positioning, I think Bane of the Trapped is a little bit better, but Zaystone is another option if you prefer that style of gameplay. And I guess if you can make Zaystone work, it's more damage. Nemesis Bracers, we need the elites to spawn, especially if we zone into a floor, have a pylon, and are able to spawn a Juggernaut yellow that's not going to kill himself. I mean, that can single-handedly make you clear the rift. So Nemesis Bracers are amazing. We want physical with all survivability with Thorns. And that's the gear. All right, for those of you who skipped the gear section because you watched the group video, let me very quickly show you some differences. First of all, in this one, we don't take Bane of the Stricken, so attack speed is a lot less valuable. So if you don't have any attack speed on here, that's fine. We're going to swap out the Swampland Waders for Golem Skin Breeches. Main reason is because we want the damage reduction. It's mandatory when playing solo. We're also going to pick up Unity and COE in Crispin, so Unity is the new one here, because, again, we want the 50% damage reduction from our follower. And these two are the same, and another change, as I just mentioned, we're going to get rid of Stricken and put in Bane of the Trapped, because we don't really have a problem on the Guardian anymore. We're responsible for killing the entire Rift. So Bane of the Trapped is going to be a little bit better. And we've got Land of the Dead for the Guardian anyway, and he has a lot less health than we're doing in the group version. So Bane of the Trapped is the better option here. Alright, let's go over the skills that make this build work. First, we have Command Skeletons. We need this for our Bone Ringer. This is what makes the build work. And we take the Dark Mending Rune because the minions will heal us for 0.5% of our total health every time they attack. It's a good way to stay alive. Grim Scythe, Curse Scythe. We need something to generate essence so we can keep our Aquila buff active. So this is going to apply all the curses, and combined with our Eternal Torment passive, the curses are going to last forever. Bone Armor is just another way to survive, and we can get 15 stacks of it with our Wisdom of Kalan, so just another way to stay alive. Command Golem, Bone Golem. This stun is going to proc our Crispin's Sentence, so we want to pop this Bone Golem right before the physical cycle to do massive damage and kill enemies for us. We also take the golem because of our golem skin breaches to give us a 30% damage reduction. Leech, Cursed Ground. Rax, why are you taking a curse if Grim Scythe is going to apply all the curses? Because the Cursed Ground rune is incredible for healing you. You plop it under a big pack of monsters and it's going to give you tremendous healing and keep you alive. And finally, Land of the Dead, Shallow Graves. Again, you're going to pop this in addition to your Bloodsong mail, and your skeletons are just going to destroy everything that touches them. And Shallow Graves is the best room. It will extend the duration a little bit and pop it right before physical, just the same as your command golem. The passives, Blood is Power is a little bit optional. If you don't want Blood is Power, you can take Spreading Malediction for the 1% damage bonus. But I like Blood is Power better because I like having my command golem and my Land of the Dead up as often as I can, so I like the 20% CDR. Draw Life is incredible for staying alive, especially combined with our Leech Cursed Ground skill, so just to stay alive. Eternal Torment, we already talked about this. Our curse, I guess, Leech is going to cost 50% less, and it's going to last forever. And finally, Aberrant Animator. This is the Thorns for our minions. This is a Thorns build. This is a must-have. Okay. And in the cube, we've got Spear of Gyro. We don't have the poison thing anymore because we aren't using poison skills. Thorns is increased by 15% for every enemy cursed. We're going to be cursing everything. We get more damage. Bloodsong Mail, as we just talked about, is connected to Land of the Dead. It's going to make the skeletons do massive damage during that. We can pop that during the Rift, and very importantly, we can pop it on the Guardian, especially if we get a bad one, in order to be successful. Finally, Crispin Sentence. If you play Necro, you're very familiar with this. 100% increased damage against slowed enemies. That will be proccing from our Bane of the Trapped, and then our Golem will be proccing our 300% bonus for that. Alright, and for the Paragon points, as if we're level 400. Movement speed first, we're going to be running around like a chicken with our head cut off trying to stay alive and cursing everything, and then put the rest into intelligence. If you find that you absolutely cannot survive, feel free to put some points into vitality. Offense, crit hit chance and crit hit damage do absolutely nothing for us, so we'll take CDR first and then attack speed, because remember, we don't have Stricken, so attack speed doesn't help us too much as we're using Bane of the Trapped. Defense, life and armor first, then I'd probably grab all resist and life per second last. And finally, area damage and gold find, pretty much life on hit don't do much for us. So I'd grab the resource costs first to help with the Aquila, and then life per hit, and the rest of them do not matter. Alright, let's walk through the gameplay of this build so I can show you exactly what you want to do. What I was going to do is talk over some gameplay, but I thought there was just too much going on. I think it will be easier to visualize if I just show you in town, okay? So starting with Bone Ringer, which makes the entire build, as long as we have our skeletons commanded on a target, it's just going to keep ramping up in damage from 30, 60, 90, 120. So that's the premise of the entire build. Command skellies on a target, keep that target alive, kite him through the whole rift, and anything else that attacks your skellies during that time is eventually going to be one-shotted, okay? So, let's talk about an ideal situation. First of all, we want a gigantic map. And we want a gigantic map that is very open, that we can kite monsters through. So an example, a very bad map would be the Keeps, for example, that have a bunch of hallways, that have a bunch of different rooms. It's very hard to kite monsters all the way around the map like that. We see those maps, if we get it on the first floor, we're just going to leave immediately. Or if we get them later on, we'll just skip them. Okay? So we want a gigantic map. It's open like Festering Woods or battlefields. And then right when we zone in, we want to find an ideal target to command on. So what would be an ideal target? An ideal target is going to be something that's going to stay alive and will follow us. And the best target would be a yellow juggernaut that does not have a bunch of affixes that are going to do AoE damage to our skeletons. So the affixes that do the most damage are Frozen, the explodey blue balls, and Jailer. So if we zone in and we see a yellow juggernaut that does not have Frozen and Jailer, we just hit the lottery. Command on them. let's say you get a yellow Juggernaut or just a yellow and they have Frozen and Jailer, consider commanding on their minions because they have a ton of health as well and they won't be casting as many affixes. You can probably keep them alive longer than the yellow will. So if we command our skeletons onto the yellow, there are only a few ways where our command would actually drop. The first is if we die. That's why we take all the survivability to not die. The second is if they die, so we don't want to kill them. The next way is if we accidentally cast command skeletons on a different target. Don't do that. And the final way is if we run too far away. Okay, we can be about a screen to a screen and a half ahead of the yellow that we're kiting. If you go 2 screens or beyond, that's when you will lose it. And you will know that you've lost it if, let me find a good place to go here, let's go to Caverns. You will find out that you've lost it if you lose the golden border. Okay, so I command on that spider. Oh, he's gonna die, I think. Golden border, run away, run away. Can I run far enough away? And when you get far enough away, it drops, okay? Once you get about 2 screens away. So we want to stay about a screen to a screen and a half ahead of the yellow. And as that bone ringer continues to ramp up for our skeletons, every monster that we pass by is just going to start one-shotting themselves. So for the other skills, Curse Scythe, we're just going to be cursing everything as we're walking, okay? Applying all the curses and building our essence back up so we can keep our Aquila up. We're going to be putting the Leech Cursed Ground under big packs of enemies. Now, don't spam it, otherwise you're going to lose your Aquila buff. You can only have one of them up at a time, but get it under a good patch of monsters to bring your health back up. Keep using bone armor next to monsters to keep those stacks full. And for Land of the Dead and Golem, in the middle of cold or toward the end of cold, pop them both when your skellies are about to take massive damage and everything around you is going to die. Be sure to do that when you're a full screen ahead of the yellow that you're kiting. That way you don't accidentally kill them during it. Okay, let's talk about what happens when things don't go well. Because we know in Diablo 3 things don't always go well. Let's say you've got the big map, let's say you've got the yellow Juggernaut, you command skeletons on him, okay, and you're going, and for some reason your skeletons aren't commanded anymore. Either you died, or you ran too far, or the yellow died, or you accidentally commanded a different target. You have a decision to make. Are you going to start up that ramping up of the Bone Ringer again? Or are you going to go to the next map? And that's going to depend. If you have a lot of map left, a lot of elites left, and you can spend a lot of time on the floor you're currently on, then you should absolutely start it again. If you're toward the end, if you're out of pylons, then it's time to move on and go to the next map. So that's something to be constantly keeping in mind, is where am I at on this floor, and have I come far enough where if something goes wrong, then I'm going to move to the next one, okay? The next thing is, if you get a bad map in the beginning, you can just leave and start over if it's the first floor, obviously. But what if you get a great floor and the next floor is just complete garbage? If the next floor is truly garbage, you should just run through it entirely. Completely skip it. Don't try to do anything. I mean, if you get like a conduit pylon or power or channeling, something like that, that may influence your decision to try to do something. But in general, you have to commit to the big maps that you can kite monsters through. So without any hesitation, if you zone into a map that you know is garbage, just skip it. That will help you for some of the tactics when things don't go well. All right, we got through the Rift, we've got the Guardian up. Let's go through the Guardians one more time. I have actually learned a lot about this build playing it for another week, so I can give you more insight on these Guardians than I did the last time, especially with the unkillable ones. Blighter is the absolute best. Command your skellies on him. He's going to kill himself in 2 seconds. No matter what you do, he's the absolute best. Okay. Agnadox. He does his fire breath. His fire breath is a cone. It's a frontal cone. Okay. So one thing that I found helpful for Agnadox is try to get your skeletons right in front of you and then command them forward with Agnadox, and he kind of moves around a little bit, but I try to get them all together because sometimes the skeletons can be commanded in a way that they're all around him. Try on that first initial command to get them all next to each other so he breathes fire on all of them. That's the biggest hint I can give. And remember, don't recast. There's no recasting, so you only get one shot at that. But Agnadox is very easy. He destroys himself with that fire breath. Blood Maw jumps around. When he jumps around, he's going to kill himself. Stand still. Hold force, stand still, and just stand there. And he'll jump back to you, which will jump on all of your skeletons, and you'll be ready to go again. All right? So I just stand still when Blood Maw moves. It seems to do the most damage. Bone Warlock. Okay? This is one of the very worst bosses, but you can kill him. Here's how you do it. You run away from Bone... Let me pull up Diablo. Okay. So, if this is Bone Warlock, and you have your Skellies commanded on him, you run away from Bone Warlock. And when you do that, he's going to shoot these 3 projectiles at you. Then run forward, run toward the balls flying at you, and then stop and let your skeletons run ahead of you, and they'll get hit by the balls. Just keep doing that, and Bone Warlock will die. Okay? So once again, Bone Warlock spawns. Command on Bone Warlock. Okay? Run away. Skeletons are here. Run a little bit forward. You see the 3 projectiles. Stop. Skeletons will run forward. They'll get hit by the little balls. Keep doing that over and over and over. You can kill Bone Warlock. Okay? So back to the guide. Cold Snap. Cold Snap is really bad. Now, you would think with Frozen being the best affix and all the little ice things that he spawns that he would be an amazing boss, but those ice things don't do anything to him, okay? The thing, he has like this Frost Nova AoE that he sometimes casts right next to him. That's the only thing that I've noticed that does any damage to him. So essentially there's no trick. You just command your Skellies on him and hope that he does enough of those to kill himself. You're going to have to rely on using your Bone Golem and your Land of the Dead as often as possible during the physical rotation to get him down. Okay. Crusader King is really good. You command your Skellies on him, and it's when he does his triple whirly attack. What I like to do is I like to stand very close to Crusader King, just to have him to try to make him do as few of the teleports as possible. And that's that's a little hint that I found to get him down a little bit quicker. Ember is really good. He drops the meteors. They do massive damage. The hard part about Ember, especially in solo, is dodging all of the fatty explodey guys that he spawns, and dodging the meteors themselves while getting your Skellies hit by them. So you're just going to be tap dancing the entire fight. Pay attention to what your Golem and what your Templar are doing to hold some of them back. If they're engaging them, then don't run toward them because the explodey guys will blow up there. And Ember casts a meteor. Then you can hit him with your Bone Golem to proc Crispin's sentence, because he's already done his attack. He summons the meteor, you see it, it's coming in 2 seconds, then you can stun him, then the meteor hits. Is a good little tactic to use for that in Land of the Dead. Arathon's really good. Command your Skellies on him, stay alive. He'll kill himself with the poison, no big hints there. Iscandiel is pretty good. He summons the arcane beams. You can not uncommand your skeletons, but you can bring your skeletons off of him and just run around with them and kind of throw them into the arcane beams. It's a little bit of an art, but that's one tactic you can use. Hamlin. I'm trying to think of... I've fought Hamlin several times. You just got to command Skellies on him and pray. He's just super bad. I don't have any... Trying to think of some elite tricks for Hamlin. I can't think of any. He's just complete garbage. Fertile Mating's super good. She does her spin move. That's when you want to pop Land of the Dead and your Golem, and you can try to be closer to her because you don't really want her to send out her... She shoots these little mortars. You'd rather her do other attacks, so what I do is I stand really close to hopefully entice her to not do that. Okay? Mancarver is not shit tier at all. Mancarver, the really good thing that he does is his hooks. So similar to Bone Warlock, I run away from him and I entice him to hook, and I try to put my skellies in front, and that does incredible damage. So run away, have him hook you. Run away, have him hook you. Especially when he shoots out those triple hooks, are amazing. Orlash, you got to pay attention to which one Orlash is. He's the only one, I believe, compared to his ads, that can actually move his beam. So you want to send your skellies move away, and when he does his beam, you want to send them straight into his beam so they get hit by the full duration of it. And don't weave too much. Weave only as much as you need to stay alive, and make sure that he cooks your skellies with his beam. The ads hitting you with the beam, to my knowledge, does absolutely no damage to him, so it's got to be the real one. Perdition's very good. Command your skellies on him. Stay close to the skellies, so a lot of his attacks land on top of them. He'll die very quickly. Same with Perendi, but you've got to dodge his big swingy attacks. A hint on Perendi: if you've made a mistake, like you're trying to dodge his swingy attack and you accidentally zigged when you should have zagged, and he might hit you, you can use your Bone Golem to try to interrupt him, to give yourself essentially a free life, another chance. So you can use it potentially defensively if you've made a mistake. Raziel's amazing, or Ryziel. I've heard someone told me that it's Ryziel. One of the two. He's extremely good. He puts lightning everywhere. No real hints. He'll die very easily. Rhyme is very good as well. I'd stand close to your skellies to try to get the icicles to spawn on him. Be careful with Rhyme. He's surprisingly dangerous. He can kill you. Another thing I should mention real quick: Blighter can kill you. Blighter hits extremely hard, so I wouldn't get in melee range of Blighter. It's just not a good idea. He's going to chop you real hard. If he smacks you, he'll probably kill you in one hit. Okay. And we are on Sandshaper. He's decent. He has a meteor. He has falling rocks. Like always, stand on top of your skellies to try to get them to land on there. Saxtrus is a lot more possible. That a phrase? More possible. If you have him in a hallway, because he spawns these tornadoes. And as he gets lower and lower, he spawns more and more tornadoes. If you have to, drag your skellies into the tornadoes and keep throwing them in there. That's how I've been able to kill Saxtrus. Stone Singer, he's kind of hard because you want to be close to him because it does more damage, but Stone Singer also really hurts. So it's a balance between being there and learning his abilities, which are he does a knockback, and then he does a charge. So you don't want to get hit with the knockback because then he charges you, but you don't want to be too far away because also then he charges you. Then he has little ads that shoot the mortars. He's a very finicky boss. So my advice to you is put your skellies on him. Try to stay at a medium range so he doesn't charge you and he doesn't knock you back. You want to avoid both of those, and just stay at a medium range. Tethris, when he gets below 75% health, he puts these, puts these black pools, and those absolutely murder her, so try to direct your skeletons into the black pools. So if you want to, you can try to use your Land of the Dead in the beginning, because it's going to be really rough in the beginning, and then use it one more time when the black pools come up, and she will die. Binder, I don't know about absolute shit tier. I mean, again, if you walk away, he does the they look like they're poison bolts, but I believe they're actually physical damage, not that it matters anyway. If you run away and have him shoot them and shoot your skellies forward, same as Bone Warlock, you can kill him, but he's definitely one of the worst bosses. Choker is the same as Tetris. When you get him to 75% health or whatever it is, he summons this huge poison pool, which just erases him off the face of the earth, as shown in my LoN Thorns group video. So again, Don't feel free to pop Land of the Dead in the beginning and when he drops the poison pool if you have enough time, and that will get him down. And that's another reason why we take the Land of the Dead variant for solo, because sometimes it can save you when you otherwise wouldn't clear it. Vesalius is terrible, but you can kill him. Same strategy as Bone Warlock. You run away, and you don't have to run as far away to get your skellies to leave. Let me show you. Let me go into Diablo. Okay, so let's say this is Vesalius, and I command my skeletons onto him. I don't want to run a football field away to bring my skeletons. I don't want to bring my skeletons. I just want to be far away and have my skeletons still on Vesalius. You'll see him raise his hand, and he's about to shoot 3 little balls of damage. Then, once I see that, then I run forward onto my skeletons. All the balls hit me and all of my skeletons, and he does massive damage to himself. Okay? So, one more time, just to be clear. For Bone Warlock, command on Bone Warlock, run away and bring your skeletons with you, and then send them in to get hit by the bolts. Vesalius is different. Command, run a decent ways away. His hand goes in the air, run very quickly, and the balls will hit your skeletons. That's how you can kill them. Rinse and repeat. Okay? Voracity is not shit tier. You can kill Voracity pretty easily. I would say you could kill him easier as solo than on the group build because you don't have to stack Stricken. Okay, so here's Voracity, and he spawns a poison pool right here. Run away, bring your skeletons with you, throw them back into the poison. The second they get back to Voracity, run away, they're going to come to you, and then throw them back into the poison. Throw them back into the poison. Throw them back. If you keep having them exit and re-enter the poison, you can kill Voracity for sure. We did it. We have both Thorns guides up. I know you guys are going to love this build. This is one of my favorite builds I've ever played for any class ever in Diablo 3. It's so powerful, and it's just so different. It's just a breath of fresh air. Thank you all so much for the love and support you've been showing me. Please like and subscribe if this helped you. There are many more videos coming. I'm going to do a Corpse Lance solo and group combined video because they're pretty similar, so I can get it done in one. There's going to be a Primal Ancient farming video, how to grind Paragons videos. I'm going to make whatever guides you guys want for a long time to come. Thank you so much.